Malaysia property terrible. I agree 200% that Malaysia property makes terrible investment when, if you are a terrible investor yourself. I think the claim here is that zero appreciation, low rent, oversupply, unstable government, growing anti-foreigner sentiment. Again, we can argue opinions, which I think was the question about, or we can tell the facts. And if you look at the chart over here, when you compare the property price growth for Malaysia versus Singapore in the last 20 years, last 10 years, you will see there was very clear winner of Malaysia property actually outperformed Singapore property from a capital gain point of view in the last 10 years, in the last 20 years, and if you want, you can actually stretch it all the way to 30 years and it's still gonna remain the same. So factually speaking, if you look at the data, Malaysia property has got better capital gains compared to Singapore property. I don't make this shit up, it's just data and facts. You can go and study from both Malaysia Department of Statistics versus Singapore's. But I understand why people claim this simply because I would say probably 99% of the Singapore origin buyers who are buying Malaysia property, they lost money. And if you have actually watched my video about the sheep mentality, right? SHEEP, you will understand very quickly why does 99% of the Singaporean who actually buy Malaysia property actually lose money. Equivalent to me telling the whole world that Singapore property is bad because I decided to buy some overpriced property in Sentosa and lost money in the last 10 years. So factually speaking, again, Malaysia property outperformed Singapore property from a capital gain point of view. Again, that's a fact. You can argue about low rent. The rental yield in Malaysia is actually higher compared to Singapore. So again, that is factually not correct. The average rental yield, if you buy the right properties in Malaysia, you can easily get 5 all the way to 7%. And I don't think you can get anything close to that in Singapore as of today. Oversupply is debatable, right? I think if you are referring to specific areas in general, yeah, I do agree. If you go to KLCC, if you go to places like, for example, in Medini, Dangga Bay, alright, I'm not surprised that people think it's oversupply simply because these areas generally have got an oversupply situation, which again, if you watch my video sheet, why Singaporeans tend to lose money buying property in Malaysia, I've explained this in full detail, right? Number 4, unstable government changing rules. I wouldn't say it's unstable. I would say the rules change in Malaysia actually in the last 10 years from a foreign property ownership point of view, from a revision point of view, is actually a lot less severe compared to Singapore's. And if you're talking about growing anti-foreigner sentiment, again, when you compare both countries, I think Malaysia is still a lot more friendly towards foreigner who's looking to buy a property in Malaysia versus Singapore. I mean, again, if you study ABSD, you study the tax in Malaysia, you will find that buying property in Malaysia as a foreigner is a lot more friendlier compared to Singapore. So these are just facts, right? Malaysia property outperformed from a capital gain point of view, a rental yield point of view, if you buy the right one. But obviously, when you are not a good investor, you didn't watch my sheep video and you simply buy a property because apply the right knowledge, the right mentality, right expectation, it's not a surprise to me you're going to claim that Malaysia property is a bad investment because you lost money buying it. Right? So again, similar to me claiming Singapore property is bad because I wrongly bought something in Sentosa overpriced completely. So I hope I answered. And of course, if you think that you want to learn more how to avoid buying lousy properties in Malaysia, watch my free content, or maybe attend our event in Singapore.